Hi, this is Dennis with Second Chance Tackle. I have the pleasure today of working on a beautiful old reel. It's a Mitchell 486. It's a high-speed saltwater reel, very large reel. And this one is bottoming out. There's a stroke here. There's an issue. It only goes a certain level. And this doesn't occur naturally. So this has probably been a problem with being taken apart and serviced and not put back together properly, unless there's a broken piece in there. So we're going to take this apart, and we're going to see what's going on inside and see if we can't resolve this issue. So while I'm taking it apart, I'd like to thank our first responders and local hometown heroes. That's everybody from police and fire, EMT and rescue, to our folks that are working in our hospital wards, as well as all medical fields that are helping us to cope with this COVID pandemic. And to the essential workers, everybody that's trying to do their part to help us kind of live our life as best we can during these trying times. So thank you for everything that you do. It truly is appreciated. All right, 4 side plate screws. There are no side plate screws on this piece. And my initial thinking is that it has something to do with the reinstallation of this. Okay, so the reel hasn't been worked on recently, but there's something in the stroke here that's not working. So let's see what's going on here. So we've got a bottoming out condition. So let's go ahead and take this off. This is your crosswind mount. Let's pull our shaft out, and now let's kind of remove that. I think we probably have a bad issue with the block here. Just kind of looking the way that came out. And I'm not sure if this one's symmetrical. It looks like it should be symmetrical, but I think this block may have gotten trapped inside. So let's just want to deal with this one sooner rather than later here. Get the First off, let's do it without the pins. Now we can find the pin. Let's give it a try again. Okay, so let's take a look now to see if this block is symmetrical or not. So we were looking at the stroke of the reel as a possible bottoming out issue, and I actually pulled a different reel just to kind of go through the mechanics of it. I did service the 486. We'll pick that up in just a moment, but what you basically have in the design of a Mitchell reel in this kind of model is that you have a big gear, the main gear. You have the pinion gear, which drives the rotor around and around. You have a crosswind block, which forces the shaft up and down because there is a stud on the main gear. I'll pull that right now just to show you. That is offset. And that offset, as it circles, it's not in the center of the gear, which would be here. It's off to the side. And as that circles, that moves up and down, and it moves that block up and down, and that block moves your spool up and down. So what we were finding in the 486 is that the crosswind block could not complete its final stroke. It was coming down below here. And when it was coming down below, it was bottoming out. And that led us to look at some other things, because the designs are very similar between this reel and the 486 reel. And you find that with a lot of manufacturers. When they find a successful design, they're going to stay with that design. They're going to change the length, they're going to change the width, they're going to change some of the other variables in this. This happens to be the Mitchell 324, and the variables will change, right? You'll have a bigger drive. In the case of the 486, you have needle bearings in here that makes the reel operate a little bit smoother. You have a high-speed reel in that the pinion gear is a little bit smaller. You have different materials. This is aluminum and the other one is brass. But for the most part, the design is very much the same as you would expect to see on the other reel. So this is how the reel should be functioning normally. Again, that offset on the main drive is going to be pushing this block up and down. The block is attached by a pin, and as you saw on the 486, the pin is a double pin as opposed to a single pin. The axle shaft is longer, the spool capacity is more, but the design essentially is the same design. And why fool with a design that works? So let's get back and find out what that problem is then with that 486. We looked at it. We said that the crossline block was fine, that it operated good when the pin wasn't in, that the axle shaft seemed to be smooth, that the pinion gear and the main gear were all working, so that wasn't an issue. I took it apart, I cleaned it up, made sure that all of that was right. So what in the world was causing that problem with the oscillation? Let's go find out. Okay, here's the problem. Broken line. So after taking this reel apart, completely rebuilding it, and trying to figure out why this reel would not perform, we've got broken line all kind of bundled up here under the spool. So I assume that as soon as we take this off and we reassemble the reel, we will have success here in terms of getting this thing operating properly again. Wow, that's a lot of line there. All right, let's give it a try then. We're going to put this back in. So that was stopping this reel from, it was causing this reel to bottom out before it could complete the stroke. All right, there you go. That clicker back on. So now we have one cleaned up, beautifully maintained, ready to go fishing reel. So sometimes it's the oddball stuff that causes these reels to break. And in this case, it was about 10 yards of line. Okay, so let's wrap this up then with what lessons were to be learned here. Whether you're working on a big reel or a small reel, doesn't really matter. The designs are not that much different within the same manufacturer's line. When you have an issue, the first thing you want to do is just open it up and see what you got, and that's what we did with the 486, right? We took the cover off of it and we did some exploratory. We had some thoughts because the reel was getting stuck as we went up and down. Of course, this isn't the 486, it's the 302, but the reel just wouldn't complete the cycle. When we opened it up, we looked at the oscillating gear because we thought maybe something was broken in here, right? And we found out that when it got to the bottom of the stroke, there was an issue in that it could not complete the stroke. It got hung. You could go backwards and you can go forwards, but as soon as you got to the bottom of the stroke, the line jammed. So the diagnosis on that would be, okay, let's figure out the parts that move in here. We took the pin out and we found out that everything was working fine. That made it kind of odd that said it wasn't the axle shaft and it wasn't the main gear and it wasn't the pinion gear. So it's a process of elimination to find out what we need to do to restore the reel to that look. So the next thing to do was to look at the axle and its spool itself. That's where we found the broken line. Well, how does broken line get in there? Well, Here's an example of it. It's not in there now, but you can see the line is just hanging all over the place. It was probably in storage. Nobody was paying a lot of attention to it. And it's easy for that stuff to wrap. Now, I've never seen it wrapped like it was in the 486, but that's how we got there, was by doing a process of elimination, understanding the basic design of the reel, and then dismissing potential causes of the problem. The first thing you would look for would be broken parts. The next thing you would be looking for is something that is unnatural in there, and eventually we found that the unnatural piece was the broken line. So if you do enjoy this kind of thing, then please subscribe to my channel. If you have questions on this reel or any reel in particular, leave them in the comment section. I will try to answer those questions for you. If you like the video, please like it. And finally, if you have a reel that you're having trouble with, maybe it needs repair or tune-up or service, and you don't want to do it yourself, well, send me an email on the business card that follows, and I'll be happy to give you the repair information. So this is Dennis with Second Chance Tackle. Have a great day.